The one financial skill that compounds for life. Most people believe financial success comes from learning the right tactics, the right investment, the right career move, the right timing. They spend years chasing strategies, formulas, and shortcuts, convinced that one good decision will finally unlock stability, freedom, or peace of mind. But here's an uncomfortable question very few people ever stop to ask. Why do some people keep improving financially no matter what the economy does, while others seem stuck even when they're doing everything right? Why does one person recover quickly from mistakes, setbacks, or bad timing, while another feels permanently behind after just one wrong move? The difference usually isn't intelligence, discipline, or even income. It's a single financial skill, one that quietly compounds over decades, long after trends change and advice becomes outdated. And most people don't even realize they're missing it. For many people in the US and the UK, financial life doesn't feel like a failure. It feels busy, responsible, and mostly under control. There is a steady job. Income arrives on schedule. Bills are paid. Maybe there's even some saving or investing happening in the background. On paper, things look fine. And that's exactly why the problem is so easy to miss. Despite doing what they were told to do, many people feel a quiet frustration they can't fully explain. They work hard, gain experience, and earn more over time. Yet life doesn't feel lighter. Time still feels scarce. Decisions still feel heavy. Taking a break feels risky. Changing direction feels expensive. Progress exists, but freedom doesn't seem to follow. This creates a confusing gap between effort and outcome. People assume the solution must be more tactics, better budgeting, smarter investing, another income stream, a better job, so they keep optimizing the surface while the underlying pressure stays the same. Income may increase, but flexibility doesn't. Life becomes more expensive to maintain, not easier to control. The real issue isn't a lack of discipline or intelligence. It's that many financial lives are built to function only when everything goes right. As long as income continues and routines aren't disrupted, things work, but there's very little margin for error. Any unexpected change, a job shift, an economic downturn, a personal setback, suddenly feels overwhelming. This is the core problem worth recognizing early. Most people aren't stuck because they're irresponsible. They're stuck because their progress is fragile. They've optimized for short-term stability without realizing how dependent their future has become on constant effort. And until that fragility is addressed, no amount of surface-level improvement will create real financial freedom. That's why this topic matters. Because the biggest obstacle isn't earning more, it's building a life that can actually handle change. The reason so many financially responsible people still feel stuck isn't a lack of effort. It's the way they've been taught to think about progress, money, and safety from the very beginning. From an early age, success is framed around visible effort. You study hard, you get good grades, you work hard, you get paid. As long as you're busy and reliable, you're doing the right thing. This creates a powerful belief that effort itself is the primary driver of financial security. More work should naturally lead to more freedom. But money doesn't work that way. Most jobs pay for presence, not leverage. Income arrives because you show up consistently, not because something continues to grow on its own. As a result, many people build lives that function only when effort never stops. When effort pauses, income pauses. And when income pauses, everything feels at risk. Another root issue is emotional comfort. Effort provides immediate feedback. You work, you get paid. That certainty feels safe, especially when bills and responsibilities are constant. Awareness, on the other hand, feels uncomfortable. It requires stepping back, questioning assumptions, and accepting delayed results. There's no instant reward for thinking long-term, so most people avoid it without realizing they're doing so. There's also a cultural factor. Being busy is praised, hustle is respected. Questioning whether effort is actually building something durable can look lazy or ungrateful. So people double down on working harder instead of examining structure. They optimize how much they do, not what their effort is creating over time. Over years, this leads to a quiet trap. Income may rise, but dependency rises with it. Fixed costs grow, Commitments expand. Life becomes more expensive to maintain. And because nothing breaks suddenly, the risk remains invisible. The core problem isn't that people don't work hard enough. It's that effort is applied without awareness. And without awareness, effort keeps people busy, but rarely free. If effort alone doesn't create lasting financial progress, then the solution isn't to work harder. It's to change what your effort is aimed at. The one financial skill that truly compounds over a lifetime is awareness, the ability to see how money, time, and decisions interact beneath the surface. This shift begins with asking better questions. Instead of asking, "How can I earn more right now?" the more powerful question becomes, "What happens if I stop?" If your income, stability, and sense of safety disappear the moment effort pauses, then effort isn't building freedom, it's maintaining dependency. Awareness starts when you notice how fragile your current setup actually is. Practically, this means using your existing situation differently. A job is not just a paycheck, it's a tool. Stable income can be used to quietly reduce future pressure instead of immediately upgrading lifestyle. Even small amounts redirected consistently toward skill development, investing, or lowering fixed expenses begin to change the structure of your financial life. These moves don't feel dramatic, and that's exactly why they work. Another important shift is separating activity from progress. Being busy feels productive, but many tasks reset every month. Awareness focuses effort on things that persist when you stop pushing. Skills that compound, systems that don't collapse without daily attention, assets that grow quietly over time. Progress becomes less visible, but far more durable. This approach also reframes patience. Waiting isn't passive when it's intentional. Choosing to delay comfort, resist automatic upgrades, or stay consistent with boring habits is active positioning. It reduces dependence and creates margin. At first, this can feel like falling behind. But underneath that discomfort, pressure stops accumulating. The goal isn't perfection or extreme discipline. It's alignment. When awareness guides effort, money begins to behave differently, not because you're doing more, but because what you're building finally lasts. The real power of this financial skill doesn't show up quickly. In fact, its greatest strength is also why most people underestimate it. The results are delayed. In the short term, life often looks the same. You still work, you still earn, you still deal with bills and responsibilities. From the outside, there's no obvious sign that anything has changed. But over time, the difference becomes structural. When awareness consistently guides decisions, pressure begins to compound in the opposite direction. Fixed costs stop expanding automatically. Income becomes less fragile because it's supported by more than constant effort. Time slowly opens up, not because work disappears, but because fewer things depend on everything continuing perfectly. This is where discipline matters more than intensity. People who rely on bursts of motivation tend to burn out or drift. People who apply awareness steadily make quieter decisions that reshape their future. They don't chase every opportunity. They don't upgrade their lifestyle the moment income rises. They build margin first, and margin is what turns time into an ally instead of a threat. Over years, this changes how life feels. Decisions become lighter. Career moves feel less risky because survival isn't always on the line. Unexpected expenses don't trigger panic. Even uncertainty becomes more tolerable. Because flexibility exists underneath it, the future stops feeling like something that must be constantly defended. This is what financial freedom looks like in practice. Not luxury, not escape, but optionality. The ability to slow down without fear. To change direction without everything breaking. To say no when necessary. Those outcomes aren't created by one big decision or a perfect strategy. They're built through consistent awareness applied long before the payoff is obvious. Most people focus on short-term effort and miss this entirely. But over decades, awareness compounds more reliably than hustle ever could. And once that compounding is in motion, progress stops feeling heavy and starts feeling sustainable. The most important thing to understand about this financial skill is that it doesn't feel impressive while you're developing it. There's no applause for being aware, no instant reward for pausing before you spend, no visible milestone for choosing flexibility over comfort. In a world that celebrates visible progress, This kind of discipline feels almost invisible. And that's exactly why so few people ever master it. Most people spend their lives trying to solve financial stress by doing more. More hours, more responsibility, more effort layered on top of an already demanding routine. And for a while, that works. Things stay afloat, pressure feels manageable, progress feels implied. But awareness is what determines whether effort actually leads somewhere better. Without it, money keeps flowing through the same patterns. Income rises, but dependence rises with it. Life looks stable, but feels fragile. Busy becomes normal, tired becomes acceptable, and years pass without the sense of control people expected to gain. With awareness, the experience shifts quietly. Money stops being purely reactive. Decisions stop being rushed. Effort becomes more selective, and instead of constantly defending the present, you start shaping a future that feels lighter to carry. This isn't about perfection or having everything figured out. Most people who gain real financial control don't feel confident when they start. They feel uncertain. They simply stop drifting. They start noticing where their money, time, and energy are actually going, and whether those choices are making their future easier or harder. That's why this skill compounds for life. Not because it makes you rich overnight, but because it changes how every decision interacts with time. So here's the question to leave you with. Do your current financial choices feel like they're building breathing room, or just maintaining momentum? And what's one area of your money or career life where becoming more aware might matter more than working harder? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's often where clarity begins, and where real progress quietly starts.